Australia is carrying a lot of debt, we're running deficits, we're paying billions in interest, we're constantly being told there's not enough money for housing, hospitals, roads, energy infrastructure, schools, the stuff Australians actually notice. So I started looking at what we do have money for, and honestly, some of this is wild. Now, before someone has an aneurysm in the comments, I'm not saying every dollar Australia spends overseas is useless. Foreign aid can matter, diplomacy can matter, regional security can matter, keeping countries friendly can matter. But when a government is spending taxpayer money, and especially when it's running deficits, I reckon one question should always be asked: what are Australians actually getting for it? So here are 10 things your government is spending millions, and in some cases billions, on that you probably had absolutely no idea about. And you can decide whether they pass the pub test. Number 10, 40 million for policing and security in Nauru. Australia has committed $40 million over 5 years to support policing and security in Nauru. Now, there is clearly a strategic argument here. Nauru sits in a region where Australia wants influence. China wants influence. Everyone wants influence. Fine. But I still think the average Australian might reasonably ask, why are Australian taxpayers funding policing and security in another country? Apparently because in the Pacific, we're not just neighbours anymore, we're also apparently the bank. Number 9, $71 million a year for international gender equality programs. Australia has a dedicated international gender equality fund with an annual budget of $71 million. The money supports things like women's economic participation, leadership, safety, and gender-based violence prevention. Now, these might be worthwhile objectives. That's not the question. The question is whether Australians should be spending $71 million every year trying to influence social outcomes in other countries. And if the answer is yes, fine. Show me what changed. Show me the result. Show me the measurable outcome. Because this reflects our values is lovely. It's just not the same thing as proving value for money. Number 8, more than $82 million on broadcasting and media in the Indo-Pacific. This one is fantastic. The Australian government says it has invested more than $68 million over 5 years in its Indo-Pacific broadcasting strategy. Then the 2026 budget added another $14.1 million over 2 years. And buried inside that is one of my favourite government programs, Pacific Oz TV, a $28.4 million program that provides Australian commercial television content to broadcasters in the Pacific, free of charge. Free. So Australian taxpayers are paying millions of dollars so people in other countries can get Australian television content without paying for it. Now, apparently this is soft power, which is an amazing phrase, because whenever you can't quite explain the return on investment, just call it soft power. 28 million goes in, influence comes out, no spreadsheet required. Number 7, 75 million for clean energy financing in Asia. Australia has committed $75 million to support Singapore's Financing Asia's Transition Partnership. The purpose is to support clean energy transition and sustainable infrastructure across Asia. Now again, there is a climate argument, there is a diplomatic argument, there is a regional development argument. Cool. But I'd still love someone to explain to an Australian household struggling with electricity bills why part of their tax contribution should be used to help finance clean energy transition elsewhere in Asia. Maybe there's a fantastic strategic return, maybe there isn't, but surely we're allowed to ask. Number 6, $100 million in direct budget support to Nauru. This one is even better. Under the Australia-Nauru Treaty, Australia committed $100 million over 5 years in direct budget support to the Nauruan government. Budget support, not a bridge, not a road, not a hospital, budget support. Australia is helping fund another government's finances. Now, this isn't charity in the simple sense. The treaty has major strategic implications around security, banking, telecommunications, and third country engagement. So let's just say what it is. Australia is paying for influence. Maybe that's smart, maybe it's worth every cent, but if that's the argument, say it. Tell taxpayers we're giving Nauru $100 million in budget support because maintaining strategic influence there is worth $100 million to Australia. Fine, now we can actually debate the deal. Number 5, $200 million for a climate and infrastructure partnership with Indonesia. Australia has committed $200 million to the Australia-Indonesia Climate and Infrastructure Partnership. The money supports climate and infrastructure initiatives in Indonesia. Now, Indonesia is obviously strategically important to Australia, massively important. But again, we come back to the same question. Why is the Australian taxpayer financing infrastructure and climate projects outside Australia, and what exactly is the return? Trade, security, diplomatic alignment, influence, great, then measure it. Because strategic partnership can't just become a magical phrase that ends every conversation. Number 4, at least $350 million for climate-resilient infrastructure across the Pacific. Australia has committed at least $350 million to climate-resilient infrastructure in the Pacific. That includes energy, transport and telecommunications, with at least $75 million specifically for off-grid and community-scale renewable energy projects. Now we're talking serious money, hundreds of millions of dollars, infrastructure in other countries. And again, I understand the argument, a stable Pacific is better for Australia, a resilient Pacific is better for Australia. Countries that rely on us are probably less likely to fall into China's orbit. Fine. But at some point, surely taxpayers are allowed to ask, how much influence are we buying and is it worth the price? Because apparently we can spend hundreds of millions building infrastructure overseas while arguing endlessly about the infrastructure we need here. $707 million in foreign aid to Papua New Guinea in a single year. Papua New Guinea is Australia's largest development partner. In 2025-26, Australia estimates it will provide around $707 million in official development assistance to PNG. $707 million in 1 year. Again, there are legitimate reasons for this. PNG is strategically critical. It's our nearest neighbour. Regional stability matters, China matters, security matters. But let's stop pretending this is pocket change. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year in one country alone, and most Australians would have absolutely no clue. $16 billion in budget support loans to Papua New Guinea since 2019. Now this one is genuinely huge. Since 2019, Australia has provided Papua New Guinea with $3.16 billion in budget support loans. Billions, not grants, loans. The official reasoning is to support fiscal repair and economic reform. Now just pause on that for a second. Australia has government debt, Papua New Guinea has government debt, so apparently one part of our economic relationship is our government borrowing money and lending money to their government. I'm sure there's a sophisticated treasury explanation for why this makes perfect sense, and maybe there is. But fuck me, I'd love to see someone explain it on a pub whiteboard. Because once we're talking billions, I think taxpayers deserve more than vague language about partnerships. $600 million for a rugby league-centred strategic partnership with Papua New Guinea. This is the one that started the whole rabbit hole. Australia has committed $600 million over 10 years to a strategic partnership tied to Papua New Guinea entering the NRL. And to be accurate, it's not just a $600 million cheque handed to one football club. The broader agreement includes rugby league development and strategic cooperation. The government now says $250 million over 10 years will go toward grassroots and elite rugby league pathways across Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Samoa and Tonga. But still, $600 million for a foreign policy strategy built heavily around rugby league. And honestly, I kind of admire the audacity. China builds ports, Australia builds footy teams, that's where we're at. And again, I understand the logic. PNG loves rugby league, Australia wants a closer relationship with PNG, China wants influence in the Pacific, so Australia is using something culturally powerful to strengthen that relationship. Fine, but can we at least acknowledge how extraordinary this is? We are spending hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars using rugby league as geopolitical diplomacy. Imagine telling someone this 30 years ago. How's the strategic competition with China going? Pretty good. What are we doing? We bought Papua New Guinea a footy team. Brilliant. And this is the real point. These aren't necessarily the 10 worst government expenditures. That's almost scarier. They're just 10 that are sitting there in public documents that most Australians will never read. And every single one has a justification. That's how government spending works. Nobody announces we're wasting $200 million. Every program strengthens something. Every grant improves resilience. Every partnership builds capacity. Every initiative advances cooperation. Every expenditure is apparently essential. Wonderful. But eventually someone has to ask the most basic question, is this worth what we're paying for it? Because Australia does not have infinite money. Debt is real, interest is real, tax is real, and every dollar the government spends either came from taxpayers, came from somewhere else in the budget, or had to be borrowed. So maybe all 10 of these are fantastic investments. Maybe the PNG and RL team will become the greatest diplomatic move Australia has ever made. Maybe free Australian television in the Pacific will keep China at bay. Maybe international gender programs will deliver incredible outcomes. Maybe climate infrastructure overseas will produce returns Australians never directly see. Maybe. But I reckon Australians should at least know they're paying for it, and then they can answer the question themselves. Does this pass the pub test? Because it's amazing how easy it is to spend money when the person writing the check isn't the person who earned it.